Hello, hello, hello. Oh, connecting to audio. Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for people to log in. Hello. Hello, Ms. Grace. You're the only one with a video on.
Oh, hi.
So it's nice to see your face.
Oh, thank you. Nice to see yours too.
Thanks. Thanks. How did you hear about this?
I found you on Eventbrite.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here too.
Awesome. I'll just give a few more minutes. Where do you live?
I am zooming in from South Texas.
Oh, cool. If anybody else doesn't want to get on audio, but would type in the chat where they're from, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's appreciated. And then I know it's hi, Miss Grace. I'm Stacia. Hello. And I know it's sometimes we can't be on video for certain reasons, but if you can, it's really nice for the interaction. It feels really personal. And today we're going to be doing some really great work together. And this is an awesome opportunity too, to like take advantage of asking questions. And I'm here for that. So it's great to see people's faces and totally get it if you can't be on camera.
Yeah.
But definitely if you can't be on camera, feel free to utilize the chat. And like Hera said, if you're not on camera, if you want to just chat, maybe share where you're tuning in from, that would be awesome.
Yeah, be great.
Sick in bed. So, Flobian, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name. I'm sorry. You're in Brooklyn. All right, New York. I'm sorry that you're not feeling well. We were just talking about Hera before we started this call. It's kind of it's a weird time of the year. There's a lot of stuff going on. Hello from Spain. Wow, I love it.
Me too. How
I love getting international folks.
Oh, one more
Fabulous. Person. And this, your name on your camera says Garrett. So I will, if that's not your name, then feel free to correct. But
yeah.
Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Nadia.
Victoria from Post Falls, Idaho.
Yeah, she
awesome.
lives near me. She lives near me.
Can't figure. Yeah, Zoom is just it's just sometimes the most challenging thing. So totally get it.
Yeah, no problem, Victoria, about not being on if you can't.
And hello, Zoom user. You're I see your beautiful face and your hat, and I saying hi.
That's Nadia. She's a
hi.
Oh, you're model. Not. She's a model.
I can see. Oh. Yeah, beautiful. Hi, Nadia. I have a niece named Nadia. Love that name. And for now, I think we can all have, if you're not speaking, then just go ahead and put yourself on mute. Yeah. In the lower left corner of your screen, you'll see a button there. It looks like or you'll see an image of a microphone. It says mute underneath that. Yep, just tap that.
Uh-oh. My video went out.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll give it just a little bit more time and then we'll go ahead and get started. Whatever you think is right, Hera.
Yeah. I'm just seeing if my video will work. If not, oh, there it goes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think we can get started and I'll just let people in as they come in. I just wanted to say that the reason I am doing this is because I spent, first 50 years of childhood disliking my body, disliking myself, hating everything about me. And I have learned to accept and love me, even in the biggest body I've ever been in at this moment. And I owe some of that to Stacia and the other speakers that will be joining us as well over the couple weeks. And so I just want everybody to know the peace that I know. And, so anyway, so I'm so happy that Stasia's here to help you and give you some tips. And at the end, we'll have questions and answers. And is there anything else, Stacia, that... Oh, I was telling Stacia a little earlier, we did an exercise where somehow every time I think, oh, my belly's so big, now I think of my belly as a teenager who just needs my love. And I'm always so kind every time I think a negative thought, then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You're just a needy little teen. So anyway, she's very helpful. So hopefully everybody gets some good information today.
Thank you for sharing that, Hera. And I can hear the emotion behind it, because I know it comes from such a true and authentic place, and that you facilitating and putting this all together, it comes from such a beautiful place inside of you and wanting to share that with everyone else. And I feel the same way. So it's such a joy to be with everyone.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, go ahead and utilize the chat throughout this. I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who might be joining on your phone, I hope you're able to see when I share this. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see this. All right. And if it's on your phone, hopefully you'll be able to see it okay. I know it might be kind of small, but I just want to start by just saying a warm welcome to everyone tuning in from different places. And if you're watching the replay, then hello. Thank you so much. My name is Stacia Aashna, and I am a trauma-informed life coach and a clinical hypnotherapist. The main modalities I work with are hypnosis and a therapy modality called internal family systems. And I wrote here, aka a self-love hype girl, and I love to refer to myself as my client's hype girl, because this is my passion, is helping people feel good about themselves, to regain their essential qualities, the things that they lost touch with, things like joy, playfulness, pleasure, these things that maybe you haven't felt in a while, all that stuff. These are your essential qualities. These are your birthrights. And I love helping my clients to really reconnect to that. And my mission is to help heart-centered overachievers, people that are really just open-hearted, really probably working really hard in the world, but still struggling to strip away the lies that they were taught and to feel seen, valued, and loved, so that they can maximize their relationships and their careers. And when I say relationships, I don't just mean romantic. I mean family, friends, and anything else in your world. Your relationship with your home, all of this, this is all a reflection of the relationship that you have with yourself. So I'm going to go back in this. All right. So today, my presentation that I created for you all is called Befriend Your Body. And this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. So we're going to be talking all about the relationships that we have with our body. Welcome. You've made the courageous and loving choice for yourself today. You actually carved out time in your day to show up here and to watch this presentation, to be a part of this. I love this image of this little girl breaking free. This is our child self is still so alive in us, and often a lot of the work that I do with my clients is helping them to tune into this part of themselves that maybe they have lost touch with. That's the part of them that often holds those essential qualities that I talked about before. All right. Okay, so we're going to be walking through. We're going to be doing this today. We're going to be walking through these three things. We're going to be talking about what does it mean to befriend your body. We're going to look at 2 obstacles that keep most people disconnected from their bodies, and then we're going to discover 3 steps that you can take today to become best buds with your body. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, really. So at the end of this, if you'd like further support, I'll have some special offers, and I'll share those with you. And there's going to be time for Q&A at the end of this workshop. However, I'd love if you ask questions throughout, if you want to unmic, or if you'd like to just write in the chat. If you have a question, I'm going to ask for a little bit of interaction too, because I will have questions, introspective questions for all of you. That would be great. And if you're tuning in live, If you have something, if you'd like to really make the most out of this, I would encourage you to get a journal or something that you can write in. I'm sorry, I should have said that at the beginning, but I am going to be asking you some questions, and I think this would be a great time to utilize that. Okay. All right. So go ahead and move into it. So what does it mean to befriend your body? So when we talk about what does it mean to befriend our bodies, first let's talk about what does it feel like when you're disconnected from your body. So this could mean that you feel like you're in battle with your body. You are just, you literally don't feel your body. You feel very disassociated from your body. You have trouble feeling or tuning into sensations in your body for different reasons, maybe because you actually are disassociating from your body, or you hate your body, you really dislike specific parts of it, or maybe all of your body. And I'm curious if anybody else has anything that they feel when they are feeling disconnected from your body. What does that feel like for you, or what are the thoughts that you think? And if you have anything to share, I would love for you to share it. What does it feel like when you're disconnected from your body? And maybe you just want to think about it. And maybe you can just think about, like, maybe that's how you're feeling right now, or maybe you've been feeling like that this week. And you know, and before I got on this presentation today, I was talking to Hera, and I know that there's a lot of reasons why we might feel disconnected from our body. We're going to talk about that. But, you know, one of them is illness. I was just telling Hera that right now I am dealing with an allergic reaction that I've never experienced before, and I don't know what the allergic reaction is connected to, but it caused me to have an allergic outbreak of hives, and I've never experienced this before. So, you know, that could make me feel, and it did initially really heavily made me feel very disconnected from my body. I was very sort of angry that I was experiencing this.
So Stacia, are you able to hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I have something that I've been dealing with that is so I'm diabetic, and my blood sugar went out of control last year, and my doctor automatically was like, "What? Did you stop taking your medications? What are you eating potatoes and carbs, and are you eating pasta?" Like, he completely blamed me for the issue. And I'm like, I you know, and it's sad because I was totally defending myself. I go, I swear, why would I stop taking medications that's going to help me? Why would I do that? I go, and why would I all of a sudden start eating pasta and potatoes and everything? And I was so upset, and because I couldn't figure out what was going on. Why was my body like all of a sudden out of control? And so for me, because I was so in control of my disease, that I'm like, what happened? And so I did, you know, go to a specialist, and she's like, your body's changing. Let's add this. And all of a sudden my numbers went, like 2 days later, they were normal. But for a while there, for months before I saw the specialist, I was like, I saw a nutritionist. I'm like, what's happening? I swear I didn't do anything different. And she's like, you're okay. You know, it's just something is going on. And so, but you know, for a minute there, I'm like blaming myself. Like, what did I do?
That makes sense. So, yeah, that totally makes
that
sense.
Disconnect, you know, and so, yeah, that's
particular, yeah.
The doctors blame you. It's like, what are you doing? This is something you're doing on purpose. You know? So that's yeah. So
thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, it totally makes sense. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I'm sure that there are other people here who can relate to that. You know, it's not just, you know, where does this self-blame come from? It doesn't just, it comes from somewhere, and it's often like reaffirmed to us through other people, whether it's from a doctor or somebody else in your life who might make you question yourself, or in ways where you start to think negatively about yourself. So I think that definitely going into this sort of fixation on having, like, just blaming yourself or being angry or upset with your body, like sort of not in harmony with it, right? Like where you feel like disconnected. Yeah, that's a really good point. Anything else anybody would like to share? What's it feel like when you're disconnected from your body? And no pressure to share.
I think from having been sexually abused as a child, I have disassociated during intimacy a lot.
Yeah.
Like didn't want to be there. And so pretended I wasn't. Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think that disassociation in internal family systems, we would say that that's a protective behavior, right? That's a terrifying thing to experience. So disassociation would mean that you actually sort of your mind, you cut off from your mind and your body. It's like you displace yourself from the experience so that you can escape what is so terrifying.
Yeah.
And the thing about trauma is that, that trauma, it doesn't just live there in that past experience, it comes into the present. And then we have triggers, of course, that kind of cause that to show up. And yeah, disassociation is a really big one for a lot of people. We're going to talk some more about trauma too, and the impact of that on the body and our connection to our bodies.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Hera. All right, so how does it feel when you're truly connected to your body? And I know that this is a tough question. I put a little disclaimer here at the bottom that if this is a tough one to answer, then maybe you want to think back to a time in your life, sometimes in childhood, when you just were present in and enjoying your body. So, when you're connected to your body, meaning like, and this is very broad, but it's because this is going to be so unique to each person. What does that feel like? A big one that I'll do with clients is we'll go back to early childhood, and a lot of people remember things like being on their bicycle and just playing, and they're not thinking about anything. They're just enjoying their body. They're just enjoying life. They're just present and having fun. It's like, it's so fun. You can move your body. You're not really thinking about what you look like or anything like that. And sometimes people experience it, in their lives today, where you just have this feeling of you just feel tuned in, connected with your body. So if anybody has any experiences or any thoughts they'd like to share about what does it feel like, or how does it feel when you are truly connected to your body? What's that like?
For me, this is Victoria. For me, I feel powerful when I'm when I have, I guess going back to my diabetes and other things, when it's under control and when I have control over my body and being able to work out, things like that, being strong, I feel really connected. And to the point where if something's off, I feel it, like there's something going on. Not quite sure what it is, but it's not normal. And so like you go to the doctor or whatever it is, you take a break or you take a day off and for yourself. So I love that. Powerful when I'm connected.
Great word. Absolutely powerful. Yeah. And knowing how to care for yourself, knowing how to take a break, knowing that that's okay. Like listening to when your body is asking for that. If my body, when you're experiencing some pain or fatigue or whatever it is, tuning into that sensation in the body. One question I really like to ask is, if I'm feeling pain or fatigue in my body, I locate it and I'll close my eyes and go within, and then I focus on the feeling, the sensation, and maybe even like really get into the location, and I just hold my attention there, and then I ask it, if this part of me that is feeling pain or fatigue, if it could speak, what would it say? What is this? What is my body trying to communicate to me? Right. And I think that's the problem that a lot of us encounters. We never ask that question. So we have pain and we ignore it, and we ignore it, and we ignore it, and we ignore it. And we just feel pain. There's all these messages that are coming into the body. And it might not just be pain. It could be all kinds of feelings. Like that doesn't feel right. A gut feeling if something doesn't feel right, and we ignore it. And, it's kind of an unkindness to do to ourselves to ignore those messages from our bodies. I like to say that the quickest way to your inarguable truth is through your body. If you are having trouble making up your mind or making up a decision or figuring out what you want, the quickest way to find that answer is often just tune into your body. What does your body tell you? Hopefully that's resonating with people. Curious. If anybody else has anything they'd like to share, opening that up.
Yes, I just wanted to share that being connected to my body is listening to it even when I'm having emotional symptoms of loneliness or angry or just irritated with someone. It's like taking the time to say, yes, I do feel angry. Like, don't just keep on pushing through the day.
Yes.
Kicking the dog and throwing your dishes when you know you're angry. I got to take that time and just feel the emotion inside without venting it on other people and addressing it with myself and like correcting myself. Because if I don't, I'll just continue being crazy. So
I love that, Ms. Grace. Absolutely. And I appreciate that the emotion that you brought that to was anger, because anger is one that a lot of people, especially women, I've experienced, ignore that. We repress it. And what happens when we repress anger? There's so much research that has been done on the link between, repressed trauma and emotion and disease in the body. What happens when we repress anger and we do it for a long time? It doesn't just bubble up and become resentment. It could actually make you sick. So really, like when that, just as you're saying, that's beautiful advice. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Grace. When it shows up, look at it. Don't just bypass it. Be with it. And there's a lot of reasons why we aren't with those emotions, though. That's a whole other class, is what prevents us from being with those feelings, right? Sometimes it's scary to be with those feelings. Sometimes you grew up in a family where you're taught to repress them. We're not supposed to be with them. But the repercussions are not great. All right. So just as Hera shared at the beginning, this is a picture of me from a couple of years ago. I too did not have a good relationship with my body. I am 36 years old, and for most of my life, I was in battle with my body for a lot of different reasons, many of which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. I had eating disorders. I was a binger, and then I would starve myself. I had a very just extremely low self-esteem. I grew up in a family where I experienced poverty, trauma, and abuse. And so I lived with that. In my teenage years, I was clinically depressed and suicidal. And into my adulthood, I fortunately found some help when I was in my late teens, and I started on the therapy route and started finding some good tools. But it's still a healing journey that I am on. It took me a very long time to get present in my body. I remember when I was 19, I found yoga, and I remember laying on a yoga mat, and for the first time starting to feel sensations in my body that I had never felt before. And I remember being astounded that I was all of a sudden able to feel these sensations in my body. And the reason I hadn't connected with my body or felt those sensations was because I had disassociated from my body so much because of my trauma that it was like I was living outside of my body. It was like I was floating outside of my body. I wasn't even inhabiting it. It was such life was so scary growing up that I had learned to just check out. And, I had checked out so much that at that time I was having panic attacks where I would go into tetany. I would hyperventilate, go into tetany, and I would faint. And I was having fainting spells. That was how much I was checking out. So, this person that you see here, me standing here with a smile on my face, this was a journey to get here, to get to a point where I could actually inhabit my body, not be on a constant just diet, to actually like my body, to appreciate it, to appreciate myself. So it led me to stop dieting, to have confidence, to actually feel good about who I am, to own my gifts, to give to myself without guilt or hesitation. to have better sex, to feel safe in my body, to find safety, to find safe relationships, and just to be confident, just being myself. You know, before this, I think about how sad it is, how much time and energy I spent just thinking awful thoughts about myself, to be in a place of comparison and jealousy, and just hating myself. And I thought about food all of the time, was always thinking about, you know, what I should be eating or shouldn't be eating, or planning my next meal, or planning how my next diet was going to look. You know, it's a lot of time. So it's quite freeing to not think about that. I just don't. And that, Victoria, I believe you're the person earlier that talked about feeling powerful. I learned how to enjoy exercise as a way to feel powerful. Before, exercise was just like torture. I hated to exercise. And now it's like, I love to run, not because it makes me feel, not because of any, like, really any sort of aesthetic goal, honestly. It makes me feel powerful. And it's like it's actually like become very therapeutic for me. So that's sort of my definition of, what befriending my body is like. Everybody has their own definition, but I think it's really about being in harmony with our bodies, tuned in, listening, connected, in inhabiting our bodies, being present with ourselves. So 2 reasons why you may be in a battle with your body. So we're starting to already touch on this stuff. Cultural and familial influences and trauma. So we're going to talk a little bit about these things. All right, I don't know if you guys can see this, I'm going to make that small. All right, so this image is one that I found from a blogger, Modalities, who I'm not really familiar with, but I like what she did here. And what she did is she photoshopped her body to basically be the ideal of these different times. And I put this here because the point I'm trying to show is that the ideal body type, and this is obviously women that we're showing here, the female body, it's changed throughout time. It's not consistent. So this is just it's really just a made up idea of what is, what the ideal body type is. And this is, of course, it's going to be different based on culture and where we live in the world, but just to give like the general sense that this is just a made up definition or idea about what is beautiful. It has no relevancy unless we give it that. But these cultural values, they then shape the values of families and how parents raise their children. And then these beliefs and values then shape how we perceive our bodies. And so I put 2 questions here is, what did society and the culture you grew up in teach you how to think about your body? So that's the first one. And then when we talk about that, we're looking at media, looking at the things that we're exposed to. How did this impact your relationship with your body? If you grew up watching, TV shows where you saw bodies that didn't look like you, or looking through fashion magazines that were filled with people who didn't look like you, how did that register in your psyche, and what kind of impressions did that give you about what is beautiful? And then therefore, what did that mean about you if you didn't look like that? So I'm curious if anybody wants to share what its society and the culture that you grew up in teach you to think about your body.
So I grew up without social media. So for me, the society and culture didn't influence me too much. I guess my body type was just kind of normal. So I guess thankfully, because, kids in school and stuff, I mean, they're little jerks if they want to be, and they prey on your insecurities. So I guess I was lucky enough that I guess my body was acceptable at the time. So I didn't get teased too much. Yeah, it's more for the next question. How did your family teach you to relate to your body? We were told we had to have perfect bodies and be thin, which created my sister having an eating disorder. I was lucky enough that I kind of escaped that, but it affected all of us, you know.
Yeah, that's hard.
So it was hard living
Right.
through that.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you had to experience that. That's a lot of people, I think, grow up with that. Even if it's not directly stated, say maybe you grow up watching your mother look at herself in the mirror and just be like, ugh, or your mother is constantly on a diet. Just even that, the indirect messaging that comes through observing that. Because what do? Children observe their caretakers, and they take in all this information, and that teaches us how to relate to ourselves, how to think about and perceive ourselves and our body. So even if it wasn't, you need to be thin, or you need to look, do this or whatever, even if it's just, observing how your parents relate to themselves, how do they relate to their bodies? How do they relate to, their sexuality? How does their body, what do they communicate through their body language? Is there, how many of us grow up where we just see our parents just having really wonderful, loving relationships with their bodies, where they're super tuned in. they feel naturally confident, and they teach us that, it's really not, I wish we all grew up that way. And that's what I'm trying to help people to do, because we pass all this stuff on, right? And then we can go even deeper. We talk about, in IFS, we talk about legacy burdens. It's not just our parents, it's the generations before that. What were they taught about, how to relate to their bodies, and how did that get passed on? And what did we inherit? In my family, I grew up certainly watching my mother, always dislike her body. She never liked her body. We grew up poor, so we never, we never had, clothing, or looking, enjoying clothes, or learning how to just have fun dressing yourself. We didn't ever have that option. It was just, I grew up being teased for being poor, dirty. I was called fat and ugly, and all these negative impressions were things that just got embedded in my psyche, because I was directly called that, but also because I observed my mother and the relationship she had with herself and her body. So if anybody has anything else that they'd like to share, and that's, again, then we go into the family. What did your family teach you about how to relate to your body?
Well, I'd like to share that I passed it on. I can't remember about my mom really, about what she thought about her body, but I heard my daughter say, oh, I hate my body. And then I realized she was repeating me. She learned it from me. And so that's when I started to, how do I change this? How do I fix this? But I just passed it right on, that hatred of myself. And so that's why I'm hoping everybody can learn this, because I want my daughter especially to love herself, because I think she's perfect.
Thank you for sharing that. And I also want to say, obviously, I'm not trying to call people out and say this is just something that happens, for if any parent, even my mother didn't grow up in a family where she was taught to love and appreciate her body. It's no surprise that she had this very negative impression, and of course she never would have wanted to pass that along to me. I know that if she knew that would be a repercussion, there's no way she would want to do that. I think these questions are ones that we're not really faced with, where we're talking about these things. So it's great that we're opening these spaces up and we're talking more about beliefs and values, and how these things have these sorts of impressions on the mind, and they get passed down.
I just wanted to add that for me, on a deeper level, my family, we didn't really discuss our bodies or the shapes, but through culture and my experience of going out in the real world, just all the negativity about our brown skin, which added to the shame and the way I felt about myself based on how the world was treating me, even though we didn't have any body problems, but the world shows you something different. And so that's been my issue, just being Black. That's all.
Thank you for putting your voice in there and sharing that. And that's really what I want to open up in a conversation like this. Is it's not just about, the shape of our body. What's the color of your skin? What's like, there's all these, there's so many things, and that create that leave these impressions that might disconnect us. Obviously there was nothing that you didn't go out thinking there was something wrong with you, but then the society, the culture you grew up in made you feel that way. And I think that's a really important topic to talk about. So thank you. All right. And then let's talk. This is a short presentation, so we're just going over these things, and we're going to, like I said, at the end, I'm going to talk about other things that I offer. We can, because these are big issues, and then we talk about trauma. How does trauma cause us to disconnect in order to really safeguard us from life, from scary situations? Trauma is something that is being talked about more and more, fortunately. And if you want some people that you can listen to, Gabor Mate, he's a physician who talks a lot about the mind-body connection and trauma. And Richard Schwartz, who's the founder of Internal Family Systems. Internal Family Systems is a very somatic-based therapy modality. So we look a lot at the mind-body connection and how trauma might cause us to disconnect from our bodies, to disassociate. It can also lead to feeling shame and low self-esteem and all kinds of things. So with trauma, when we experience trauma when we're a child or an adolescent, often we don't really have the tools or the environment or the people around us to know how to handle those traumatic experiences. So what we do is we exile or isolate those memories. And then we develop defense mechanisms to protect ourselves from feeling that pain, from feeling the trauma. So things like disassociation that Hera mentioned earlier, that means actually just checking out from your body, where you actually almost feel like you're floating outside of your body, or you just will. Sometimes people who have sexual trauma, they might actually they can't even remember the sex. They just totally check out of their mind, and then all of a sudden they're back in their bodies after. It can be, sometimes that's an experience people have. But trauma can cause people to go into survival mode. So then you have these different defenses: fight, flight, or freeze. And in that, when you're in that state, it's you can't be present and connected with your body. When you're in that state, you're totally in your defenses. You're in your protective mind. You're just thinking about how to stay safe, or what do I need to do right now to safeguard myself from this, because this is very overwhelming. And this is a super vulnerable topic. So if anybody wants to share, then it's appreciated, but no pressure. If anybody would like to talk about how they might relate to this, or how they experienced it. I shared a little bit about my experience, my trauma, my experience of trauma. One of the effects that I had was actually fainting spells and disassociating, disconnecting from my body by just fainting, blacking out and just fainting. Also panic attacks, things like that, where I felt very disconnected I felt like out of control. I can't control what's happening to my body right now. I'm not in control anymore. Okay. And the good news is the thing about trauma is, even if trauma can be healed. So, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of things that we can do to heal the trauma, because it's not, the trauma is the impression that it left on us. And we actually do have a lot of different tools that we can use to go back and heal those parts of us that were traumatized. All right. So I love this image. This is just an image that I found, and I just thought it was such a beautiful picture of these ladies. So 3 steps to become best buds with your body. All right. Okay. So this is also for anybody who might be journaling, a great time to whip it out and write down some thoughts and ideas that come to mind. So the first step to start to befriending your body, ask yourself, what kind of relationship do I currently have with my body? So, and this is the kind of thing that you might really want to like go inside, turn your attention inside, close your eyes, and then ask yourself, how do I feel about my body? What are the things that I say to myself about my body? If I could describe my body, the relationship I have with my body, what are the words, phrases, images, or feelings that come to mind? So it could be, it's a complicated relationship. There are things that I like about my body, and then there are things that I really dislike about my body. Or it might be an image. I see a house that's kind of falling apart that needs to be repainted. People have different ways of coming up with these answers. And then at the bottom, I wrote here just as a side question, what are the payoffs? So for not healing your relationship with your body. So, what does it give you permission to be or do if you don't like your body? It's an interesting question, I think, because we don't often think about that. Like, what does it give? How does being stuck in a place of just disliking my body, what does that give me permission to be or do? I don't have to be confident. I don't have to put myself out there and shine. I don't have to change. I can just stay feeling this way. Because change can be scary. Even if how you're feeling right now, you don't enjoy that feeling, it often feels, because it's familiar, there's a safety there because it's familiar, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Would anybody like to share anything that's coming up for them?
I had a recent image. Even though I'm not talking poorly to myself, I really am so happy right now. I just had this image of a weeble.
I love that.
But lovingly, like, oh man, I so feel like I'm just round. But it didn't take me down. The image didn't take me down, and the thought didn't take me down. And that was just a true thought that, I feel like a weeble. And I really loved that it didn't do anything to my self-esteem to think that. So that's real growth. That's awesome.
Yeah. My first thought was positive. Like that was but I love hearing that was just, there was no negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a thought that didn't hurt.
And that's really great. And then some of you might be feeling that way too. Like, actually, I feel pretty good about my body, or I feel connected with it. I feel like I feel connected with my body, and that, congrats, because that's, it's not easy in this society. We're faced with a lot of things that teach us that we shouldn't really like our bodies, that we shouldn't really like ourselves. And it's validated through all kinds of experiences and people and voices around us, right? Look at a billboard, turn on the TV. There's all kinds of things that are saying you are not okay as you are, and you need to change it. You need to fix yourself. You need to do this, this, and this. Otherwise, you're not worthy. You're not valuable. We live in a society that really does teach us to think and feel very lowly about ourselves. We also, live in a very capitalistic society where we don't really recognize our bodies as being just to use a spiritual concept, but reflections of the divine, as divine bodies. We are, in this society, it's often in our work, we feel like we're just machines, that we are expendable, that we don't have real value. We're just machines. There was an interesting a guest, a woman who's an activist and an artist, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but she was a guest on Glennon Doyle's podcast recently, and she was talking about this concept that this is rooted in white supremacy and capitalism, that we have been taught to see our bodies as machines, not as divine bodies, but as machines, and therefore we don't have value. And her her activism is rooted in rest, is learning how to just rest and relax. And when she says rest, she doesn't mean it in a passive way. She's talking about activism. So she's talking about learning how to be with yourself, to be with your body, to be with yourself, to appreciate and think about what matters to you. Think about how you want to feel. These are the things that we get cut off from because we just have to work and hustle in this culture to survive, that we don't take time to rest. Okay, kind of got off on a tangent there. All right, step 2. So now that we've answered that first question, ask yourself, what kind of relationship do I want to have with my body? And then again, just think of the words, phrases, images, feelings that come to mind. What kind of relationship do I want to have with my body? And then at the bottom here is another sort of side question. It's an important question. What stories and beliefs do I have to give up or heal in order to have this relationship? You know, what are those deep subconscious beliefs and stories that are keeping you stuck from really enjoying being friends with your body? Is it, you know, the things that you heard your parents say about themselves or their bodies, or you know, and this is a big question. So again, this is really this is deep stuff. Does anybody want to share? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my body?
I'll share.
Okay.
This is Terry.
Hi, Terry.
So with my situation, I love my body, and I even think of my body like if I were to choose any body in the world, what body would I want? And I want my body. But the problem is my body like says real soft to me, like, please stop abusing me. Like, why? Like, give up the sugar, please.
Yeah.
You know? And so then I feel guilty. I'm not like mad at my body, I'm mad at my mind, like, or my behaviors. Because it's like, oh my gosh, you are such a strong, good body. And I have like big, thick legs, but strong. Like, I like that I'm like, I would, you know, so it's like, I love how my legs get me to the top of mountains. And I love how, you know, but it's like, oh my gosh, why do I abuse you?
Yeah. I think that's so relatable. I so appreciate you sharing that. I loved you saying that you love your legs and how they can get you to the tops of mountains, and then also noticing that sort of polarity of both appreciating your body and then also feeling like you're abusing your body. Like and this is where, you know, a modality like internal family systems is really useful, because we can see that we're multidimensional. You have maybe you have parts of you that love your body, that you know how to treat your body well and how to take care of it. But then you have other parts of you that just don't listen and just sabotage it. Like, you know, why does that happen? And that's something that we can't get into today, because that's work that just, it does take, you know, really deep being with that and understanding, well, where does that sabotaging behavior come from? What's that part of me that's not making those healthy choices? Where's that come from? And how do I get that part of me on board with that healthy part of me so that we can all work as a team here to support my entire system? And that's really common. Yeah, that's real common. I mean, I can relate to that. Yeah, parts of me that don't want to. I have the part of me that just wants to keep pushing. So when I had my allergic reaction, she doesn't want to rest. I'm like, no, I'm going to keep working. I'm not going to change anything. I don't have time to be sick and not feeling well, right? That part of me, how do I get her to listen and be on board? Like, no, we all got to work together as a team here to support this body, this awesome vehicle that I have. In my experience, sometimes a part of us that sabotages us, sometimes a part of us that does that, that's in IFS, we would say that's a protective part. That might be a part that is afraid of change, that is afraid of being even healed for different reasons. A part of us that might just be afraid that, it doesn't feel familiar. It's a deep topic, but sabotage is, we say that self-sabotage in IFS is a protective behavior because sabotage pulls us back, right? It's like, oh, I'm moving forward. I'm going to sabotage that and pull you back to whatever, that old behavior, that old feeling, that old familiar way of being, even if it's unhealthy, even if it's totally destructive. That's the weird thing, is that sometimes what is familiar is not safe or good for us, but it's still what's familiar. Hopefully that makes sense. Anybody else want to share? Yeah.
This is Aida.
Hi,
It's
Aida.
interesting when you said that regarding trauma, because it just got me thinking. I began thinking about the times that I have been exactly the weight that I wanted to, the best shape of my life. And it's just, every single time that happened, it was because something traumatic happened.
Mm.
Like I had, when the first boyfriend broke up with me, and I think I was like 21, and I spent the next year, I distinctly remember standing in front of the refrigerator going, I'm either going to eat everything in this entire refrigerator, or I'm going to start exercising.
Yep.
And then I obsessively exercised for a year.
Yes.
And probably got into the best shape I have ever gotten in, and felt amazing. And, guys were after me and all of that. And then it tapered off. And then the same thing happened again when I knew that I was in trouble in my marriage. Did the same thing again, obsessively began exercising. And so now it's almost like I associate having this extra weight, all of that is that I'm content. And it's culturally, like you said, I'm Hispanic. So for me, it's like, how do I show love? I make great food and I enjoy it with my family, and I am content. I am happy. So it's interesting that you would say that it's like, what beliefs and stories do I have to give up that I can be healthy and strong and weight and everything, and be in a good place? I mean, it's just literally, it's like reprogramming in that, because there's a part of me, like you said, a protection mechanism. I am content. I am in a great marriage. My children are good.
I love that.
And so I want this. So, but I also, that's what I'm like, if I could,
I know,
like, drop these last 40 pounds, it's just, yeah.
I wonder, so I can really relate to that. When I would go through traumas, I couldn't eat or sleep. And so I would lose a ton of weight, and I'd lose it really quickly. And what I noticed that was for me was I would become really restrictive with food, and then I would be obsessive with exercise. And we would say in IFS that that's a manager part that's kicking in, that stuff is gone haywire, and now I need to feel control. So I am going to get super in control of whatever is, this is I can't control the chaos, this separation, this trauma, this heartbreak that I'm going through, but what do I have control of? I can control my food. I can control my exercise, that kind of thing. So then all of a sudden, for myself, I would become obsessive about that, because that was one thing that I could actually control. And that gave me a feeling of safety, that there was something that I was, in control of, because everything else was chaotic. And I can also relate to that feeling of, that feeling of when I have a little bit more weight on me, like that feels kind of good. It feels like this is content. Like I'm not in this restrictive, hypervigilant, managing, my life sort of mode. I'm actually a little more relaxed now.
Yeah, precisely. That's exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And, it's, again, it goes back to like the society and the cultural conditioning, the familial conditioning, it's wonderful just to be able to just enjoy your body just as it is, like to enjoy food, to enjoy your family, enjoy your life just as it is, without having to get caught up in these sort of hyper managing our lives, which is often a trauma response, hyper managing our food intake, our exercise, that kind of stuff, because we're traumatized by all kinds of things. It could be just we're just dealing with the trauma of the society we live up in and trying to keep up with, you know, the standards that are ridiculous. And they are ridiculous. They're totally ridiculous. There's way too much emphasis put on appearance in our society, if you ask me. All right. Step 3. All right. So what action steps can I take today to start, you know, befriending my body? Maybe you have a good relationship with your body. And maybe there are some things that you could do a little bit differently. So starting to integrate healing practices like movement. You know, movement is wonderful for getting you into your body. Dance, breath work, yoga, really great for just starting to feel your body, starting to get tuned into it. Somatic practices, reading The Body Keeps the Score, which is a fantastic book about the body and trauma and how trauma gets stored in the body. If you really want to understand that link more, and if you have experienced trauma, that's a great book to look at, to hire a coach or a therapist, to receive somatic body work. So one of the things that I got into recently is myofascial release, and it's a therapy modality that is like very gentle, and also somatic experiencing. Again, it's with a body worker, but they're doing light touch, and it's specifically focused on helping to get people out of fight or flight state, how to get more into your prefrontal lobe, connected, conscious, so that you can actually start to tune into yourself, so that you're not living in the past or living outside of yourself, to actually really feel connected with yourself. To clean up your social media feed. This is a big one I say today. A lot of us are like just following awful things where, you know, you look at Instagram, maybe you're scrolling through Instagram all the time, and you see these feeds where there's like all these idyllic images of people that are maybe look very different from you, or are promoting some sort of idealized body that's really not registering in your mind in a really positive way. There's a lot of really great, in the body positive movement, there's a lot of really great people out there that are doing some good stuff. Follow Lizzo on Instagram. She has the most awesome, just fun Instagram feed, and she just has zero shame, is what it looks like to me, around her body. She just loves her body. It's awesome. And to buy new cute clothes, and to get rid of, for anybody who's got clothes in their closet that don't fit them, get rid of that stuff. Get rid of it now. Like, just take it away and then go buy clothes that you like, that fit your body. I am amazed, especially how many women torture themselves, day in and day out, trying, like, they just put clothes on their body that don't fit them, that they don't like, or they have a closet filled with stuff they don't like that doesn't fit them. And so they just wind up wearing, stuff that's, they just wear their sweatpants and their yoga pants. There's nothing wrong with that. I love my sweatpants, my yoga pants. But, it's very empowering for us to have, I used to work in the fashion industry, so I have seen what happens when a woman goes from wearing clothes that don't fit her well to all of a sudden wearing clothes that she likes, that she loves, that make her feel good, that fit her body well. It's a powerful transformation. I used to do that. One big step for me was I just cleared out all my so-called skinny clothes, and I started buying clothes that actually just fit me. There was a chat, but I can't read it for some reason. I think it's because there was somebody who wrote something in the chat.
Victoria wrote, "Yes, I'm going to clean out my closet."
Awesome. I love that. And then if there's anything else, if you have magazines or things that you buy that just have advertisements. I mean, I am a hypnotherapist. I can say the subconscious mind is like a sponge. So whatever you're looking at, watching, all this stuff, it gets absorbed by the subconscious mind. And then all of a sudden, you might just start feeling really bad about yourself because maybe you're following people on social media that make you, that for some reason it's registering in a really like negative way. You're starting to feel bad about yourself. You're looking through like fashion magazines with all these, unfortunately, the modeling industry is changing a little bit, needs to change a lot more. But maybe you're seeing all these bodies that only promote this certain type of body, and it doesn't look like you. You just get rid of that stuff. All right. Okie doke. And all right, so that's what I have for today. If anybody would like to share, please feel free, but I wanted to just kind of offer, again, so I work one-on-one with people. Hera is a former client of mine, and I have a 6-month program that I do with my clients. I also offer hypnosis sessions. And if anybody's interested in learning more about my work, I offer a free 30-minute discovery call with anybody who's interested, just to learn more about what I do and the things that I offer. I am teaching another free 3-day event in December. It's December 6th, 7th, and 8th, and it's called Rewired Live, 3 days to transform self-doubt and reveal your calm, confident self. So we're going to be diving deeper in that class into things like self-doubt and self-sabotage to really understand these sort of protective mechanisms, why they're causing problems, but what they're actually trying to do for us. Because the problem is with these defenses is usually we just look at the surface of them. And we don't understand that these are actually parts of our psyche that are actually trying to help us. They're trying to keep us safe. And when we can become friends, allies with these parts of us, we can heal and transform them. And then I have a new group program that's launching in January, which is called Rewired: Transform Your Relationships in 90 Days. And so all of this is available. If anybody would like to learn more, you can reach out to me on my website. And then also I'm active on Instagram, just Stacia.Aashna. Before I go to Q&A, I just wanted to share this last thing I found online. I love this. I think this was like a Twitter post, but this woman, Natalie, wrote, "My 12-year-old just tried on a pair of snow pants that were too small and said, 'I think my thighs and butt are too powerful for these pants.' Just think how quickly the diet industry would fail if more of us thought like her." I thought that was awesome. So I wanted to share that. All right. Thank you, everyone.
So I just wanted to ask that your first Rewired one in December, 3-day one, that's free, correct?
It is. It's free, and it is from, so it's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time each of those days. Okay. There's a registration page on my website, and if anybody wants the link, you can also reach out to me. But it's free. I'd love to have anyone there. We're gonna go deeper. It's gonna be a lot of the work that I do with my one-on-one clients, but in a group setting. You're all invited.
And if you can't make it every day, that's okay too, right? Because it'll be recorded.
Yes, there will be a recording. So if you're unable, if you have family or work or something that's going to keep you busy, you can always watch the recording.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions? I'm available.
I just wanted to thank you. That was really, really wonderful hour with you. Appreciate it. And
thanks, Victoria.
I love the cleaning out. You know how long I have been thinking about cleaning out my closet, because I've lost some weight, but I have that mindset. What if I gain it back? I better hold on to all these clothes that are too big for me and look sloppy and wear these. And you have that fear, I guess, maybe that, okay, yeah. So it took me, until November. It took me 11 months to lose the weight that I did. And then I'm like, then that fear, like, if I get rid of these clothes, what's going to happen if I gain the weight? So I have to do that whole, I'm not going to gain it back. I'm going to stay healthy. But yeah, yes, giving myself permission to be like, well, and then if you do, you do, but you're going to get some nicer, you're going to get more clothes, better clothes, whatever. But that's been my thing, like you lose weight and then it's like, but what if I gain it back? Then I won't have any clothes to wear. So I love your saying on, get rid of those clothes. Liking yourself is a radical act, in my opinion. There's also a meme on social media where it's like, in a society that teaches us to
to hate ourselves. Learning how to love and like yourself is a radical act. What is the deeper messaging when we keep that stuff in the closet? Just like, what is just having that lingering thing in the back of the mind? It's almost, I think I'm a big proponent of like really just clearing clutter out. Stuff just, it has this stagnant energy associated with it. I often think that, cleaning that stuff out, it kind of frees us from this mental attachment as well, this emotional attachment. Just get rid of it, and think about the new impressions that you want to put in your mind. What are the new things that you want to think and feel about yourself? And how is going out and buying clothes that you love, that's such a kind thing to do for yourself? How does that fuel and feed those new positive impressions that you're creating for yourself? That goes for anything in your life. The people you choose to be around, the boundaries you set, the food you eat, spending time eating your food. That's the relationship with food is a big one, right? Like sitting and actually enjoying the bites of food, like really taking your time to enjoy your food, sitting down. And I talk a lot with my clients about reparenting yourself. And when you're in the work of reparenting yourself, food can be a really healing thing, to take time making yourself meals that you like, and then not just eating it over the sink, but sitting down and like putting it on a plate and like really enjoying the meal, just like a good mother would, take care of her child. You can do that for yourself. Anybody else have any questions? I'm totally available and happy to be present for you. And thanks for the comments. I put by the way, to anybody who's watching, the link for my 3-day event is in the chat. So that's the link I shared there.
And also, if nobody else has any questions, but there'll be 2 more of these events, and it'll be the same link, and there'll be an email coming to you. So, and I'm sure there's just a copy her kick on the event. Oh, it's all the information's about Stasia's also. So if you need any more information for her, yeah. But she really helped me. I stopped judging myself. I understood why I was judging myself. There was some part of me that wanted to keep me safe. And that really changed everything for me. Really helped.
Great to hear. Yeah. For many years I struggled. So I know what it's like to kind of feel like I'm doing all these things, but it's kind of like, it's like band-aiding it, or it's helping to like a certain extent. And that's why the modalities I'm using, hypnosis and internal family systems, I felt like these were the things that got me to the root of, okay, this is actually what the issue is. It's not this surface level, like food stuff or whatever. There's some really deep stuff that's associated here. And I love seeing, especially women. I mean, I love seeing women just take their power back and just start to feel good about themselves. It's awesome. It's like, imagine if we all just liked ourselves, what kind of society we'd be living in.
It's such a waste of energy and effort and time, and our life is so short and precious. That's why I'm doing this, because I hate that we waste a minute not liking ourselves.
Me too. Yeah, I feel the same way. I think about that. I think about how many years of my life I just spent trying to make myself hotter, sexier, thinner, more to prove I do have value, I have worth, and what a sad thing that was. So it's wonderful when we can find freedom and just really, and that's just the surface of it too, like actually liking yourself, but then actually being connected to your body. Feeling, that connection. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Does
Sarah.
Anybody have anything else? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Stacia. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll meet again. Thanks,
Sounds
everybody.
wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Oh,
Appreciate
and the
you all.
recording will be available too. I'll send it. I'll put it in the group thing. Okay,
Thank you
thanks.
so much. And I
Thank you.
registered for your event, Stacia.
Who's it? Miss Grace? Oh, fabulous.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's me.
All right. Thanks for thank you, dear.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Great to see you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.